Hi readers, I'm Annie. We need to talk about my epic 2024 reading year. I'm talking 106 books, 43,000 pages, and an average of a 4.2 star rating. Honestly, it has been so crazy. January was my best reading month with 11 books, and October, yes, she said reading slump activate, and so I only managed to read 6. But in this video, we are going to be spilling the tea. We are going to be looking at absolutely everything, the good, the bad, and the emotional roller coaster that was my 2024 reading year. So buckle up, grab your tea, get cozy, because we are in for the long haul with this video. Right, let's kick this off with some stats for my stats people. You know I've got you. So I read a total of 106 books, which was a total of about 43,000 pages. Now, depending on which site you use, Goodreads itself says 43,000 pages, but my year in books said 41,000 pages. I'm gonna go with 43 because it sounds so much better, and it actually calculates to being nearly 9,000 more pages than last year, which is insane. And even though I changed the way that I reviewed books this year and I rated them, and I was being what I thought was harsher with my ratings, I ended up with an average of 4.2 stars, which is so crazy generous, but I think it just is testament to the fact that I read some really amazing books this year. Like I said, I read 11 books in January, but only 6 in October, but let me know in the comments down below, what was your best reading month or what was your worst reading month? Because honestly, we've all been in a slump at some point this year, like I'm convinced. So let's start with the wrap up from my year in books, which says that I read for over 70,000 minutes across 39 genres. And to be honest, like I'm a little bit confused by the way that it's like separating the genres, because romance, contemporary, fantasy as my top 3, like yes, but contemporary shouldn't really be on its own, because did I really read anything that was outside of romance? Maybe like 2 books in the entire year, honestly. And then you've got contemporary romance, sports romance. Okay, the mystery is fair because we did branch out a little bit this year, but sports romance and sports shouldn't really be separated, and western romance shouldn't really be separated. So I kind of don't really get what it's pulling from the genres, but we're just gonna leave it alone. So it says that my top author this year was S.J.M. That's because you guys know that I have been in a book club with my friends, because 2 of them have never read S.J.M. and we've been working our way through Throne of Glass, we've been working our way through Akatar. We have yet to start Crescent City. This year we are going to be kicking off with A Court of Silver Flames. So we've got Nesta's story. You guys know I'm a Nesta girly, so you know I'm super excited for that one. And then of course we have the chaos that is the Crescent City series, and then we'll essentially be up to date, which is so super exciting because I literally thought we would never get here. And of course, no matter if you look at my year in books or you look at the little Fable description as to when it gives you that little wrap up of how you're reading, you know full well that it is focused around romance, because that is my vibe. I am an absolute hopeless romantic. You know that is 100% where I want to stay. So according to Goodreads, my shortest book was Signs of Cupidity by Raven Kennedy, and my longest book was Kingdom of Ash by S.J.M. The longest book was 980 pages. Like, yeah, that tracks. Like, they are so long. So honestly, the extra 9,000 pages that I read is essentially just 9 KOAs. Which, if you asked me to read 9 KOAs in a row, like, I would actually be genuinely terrified. But the average length of my books was apparently 408 pages. I feel like that kind of like makes sense. Like, I feel like I've not really read any like super chunky fantasies, which I feel like is going to be coming in 2025. Like, there's a few that are on my list, Brandon Sanderson, that are like so super chunky that I'm like, okay, I just really need to get around to this. And I feel like 2025 is kind of setting up to be the fantasy year, whereas 2024 was totally a romance year. So Goodreads say that my average rating is 4.1, but Fable said 4.2 because the last book of the year I did do a half-star rating, so I think that's kind of where that discrepancy is, but it is basically a 4-star rating, which is still pretty generous, and it definitely falls in line with my I loved this vibe, because honestly, so many books this year just served. You know I absolutely cannot wait to get into my reading bracket and deciding what was the best book of the year. But you guys know that we have to go through every single book that I read this year, give it a 1-sentence review, and just give you guys all the vibes. Like, this is gonna be so chaotic. I hope you're ready. Where did we start this year? Who even knows? Can I even remember what I felt about the books I read in January? I don't know, but this is probably the last video that we're gonna see with this bullet journal before she heads into retirement. And honestly, she has has been such a trooper this year. I managed to lose both of my like page markers. She is about to fall to pieces. I've had to like sticky tape pages back in. Like, she has been a trooper this year. So can we just have a minute of appreciation for this year's bullet journal? I'm not even going to talk about the DNFs from this year, because if you want to know the details of the DNFs, go watch all of the wrap-up videos. They didn't make the cut. They are not worth talking about in today's video, and we have more than enough to be getting through. So starting off with King of Wrath by Anna Huang, I rated this one 4 stars, and Dante is everything. Okay, I was also on a little bit of a binge because I then read King of Pride, which I also rated 4 stars, and honestly, it felt like this book took forever, but I was really here for it. Then it was King of Greed, which I rated 5 stars. This was so good, and this was a masterclass in how to do a second chance romance. Then we've got the Empire Storms and Tower of Dawn tandem read, and honestly, I kind of forgot like how painful this tandem read is and like how many pages there are to get through. Like, it was actually painful. We've got the Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzon. I rated this one 5 stars, and Alaric and Taliesin are like one of my favorite couples, seriously. We've got The Son of Neptune by Rick Riordan. I rated this one 5 stars as well, and honestly, I just love Percy being back. Then we've got The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I also rated this one 5 stars, and what even is this book? I did not even know that I needed this book in my life. A Photo Finish by Elsie Silver. I rated this one 4 stars, and I was convinced that this was going to be the year of second chance romances. Then we've got The Herb Witch's Apprentice, which I rated 3 stars, and basically this was Bridgerton, but they're witches. Raiders of the Lost Heart was another 5 star, and honestly, this was giving me such Indiana Jones vibes. I had to go and rewatch the movies. House of Flame and Shadow, Crescent City Book 3. I initially rated 5 stars, but I kind of want to drop that to a 4 star because I feel like it was an in-the-moment 5 star. Baby Moon or Bust by Ava Hunter was honestly like so chaotic and so hilarious. I couldn't not rate it 4 stars. Lady Smoke by Laura Sebastian. I rated 3 stars because honestly, it was so much slower than I wanted, and I've really not been in a YA kind of era. Payback's a Witch I rated 4 stars because honestly, I kind of forgot that this was a sapphic romance, and by the time I remembered, I was so overjoyed. Mile High by Liz Tom Ford was another 5 star because honestly, he adopts the dog. Like, I was a sucker from the start. The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, I only rated 3 stars, and honestly, I was a little bit disappointed. Like, I just wanted more from this book. A Man's World by Grace Newman, I only rated 2 stars, and I'm convinced that I must have read something completely different to everyone else who rated this book on Goodreads because I really did not enjoy myself. The Longest Book of the Year, Kingdom of Ass by SJM. You know it was a 5 star, you know I cried, and I'm deceased every single time. Bloodstream by Emily Carter, it got a 2 star rating. Honestly, it should have been less, and frankly, I should have DNF'd it. Bride by Ali Hazelwood was a 5 star. I know some people got the ick with this, but honestly, this kind of sent me into a little Omegaverse spiral. Bridgerton, we had Elisa's Story, which was To Sir Philip with Love. I rated this 4 stars. Honestly, it was kind of a little bit unexpected, but I really loved the character growth. Welcome to the Fae Cafe. I genuinely thought I was getting something different, so I could only really rate it 3 stars. Good Game by Madison Fox literally came out of nowhere. It had to be a 5 star rating. I absolutely loved this. Then we've got our shortest book of the year, Signs of Cupidity, which I rated 3 stars. And honestly, like, I'm kind of feeling the temptation to get back to this series, but I feel like book 1 was not really what I thought it was going to be. The Frontrunner by Elsie Silver was a 4 star, and honestly, my perception of Stefan changed so much through this book. The Fake Mate was what I said about that Omegaverse spiral. This was a 5 star, and honestly, I am so here for it. Lights Out by Kayla James only got 4 stars because honestly, the physics kind of said no. A Full Start by Elsie Silver got 5 stars because honestly, Nadia and Griffin might be one of my favorite pairs. Home Run Proposal was gifted 4 stars because honestly, I was expecting this to be spicy and she didn't disappoint. Promise Me was a 5 star because honestly, he is the most perfectly protective cinnamon roll. Glass Crown by Victoria Aveyard, I only rated 3 stars because honestly, this is I think what really told me I was not in a YA mood this year. Midnight Ruin by Katie Roberts was 4 stars, and undoubtedly, this was the spiciest book of the series yet. Things We Never Got Over was a 5 star, and honestly, I can't believe I slept on this series for so long, and I still haven't returned to it yet. A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch was 4 stars because as much as I love being in Glimmer Falls, I think I just wanted a little bit more drama. And Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh was a 5 star, and honestly, you have to be in such a strong mental state to be able to handle this book. Wild Love by Elsie Silver was 100% a 5 star, and did I binge this in one day? The answer is yes. Filthy Rich Vampires was also a 5 star because this was giving like a little bit of Twilight, a little bit of Bridgerton, and a little bit of spicy sass, and I loved it. However, book number 2 of that series, Second Right, was only 4 stars because the middle section of this was just downright questionable. Butcher and Blackbird was 5 stars because honestly, even though they're all into the killing business, the fact that he's a chef and you actually get some food is just mwah. Law of Attraction was only 3 stars, and given that it's only 240 pages, it took a surprisingly long time to get through. Off Track by Isha Patel was 4 stars because even though they were both F1 drivers and I loved the amount of racing in it, the romance was just a little bit disappointing. Funny Story by Emily Henry was 5 stars, and honestly, I cried. Like, I ugly cried. Ugly cried. Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey was 5 stars. This was a golf romance and there was so much golf. Cross the Line was 4 stars because I just wanted to be involved in the sister's wedding, not just like sat on the sideline like a boring old grandpa. Night Shift was also 4 stars because this was meant to be a sports romance. There was absolutely zero sports, but as a college romance, this was great. The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. Honestly, if I could give this 6 stars, I probably still would. The Stolen Heir by Holly Black was 4 stars, and honestly, I was actually kind of surprised by how much I loved this. Ice Planet Barbarians. Yes, I did give in, and yes, I rated this 4 stars because I actually kind of enjoyed myself. Do Your Worst was only a 3 stars because I wanted this to be really good, and it genuinely could have been, but I just didn't really care about the characters. The Way You Shine was 4 stars, and honestly, I loved every single thing about that grumpy sunshine dynamic. The Wild One by Terry Farley. I am so excited to be getting back into reading this series, and honestly, like, of course it was going to be 5 stars. It's ponies, what can I say? Smoking Gun by Lainey Lawson was only 3 stars because I thought I was signing up for a small town cowboy romance, and honestly, the end was just a little bit weird. Now, Barbarian Alien, book 2 in the Ice Planet Barbarians was only 3 stars because honestly, I did not like some of the character decisions from other people, not our main 2 though. Hate Mail was a 5 star, and honestly, it so took me off guard. Love Unwritten, I could only give 3 stars to because honestly, I just felt like I was missing that spark with the book. Small Favors by Erin A. Craig is technically a reread because I soft DNF'd it, and honestly, this was so unbelievably good. The Catch was also a 5 stars, and this was so different from the other books in this series. Like, it was so good. The Dixon Rule by Elle Kennedy was also a 5 stars, and if I could give this a 6, I probably would. Leather and Luck by Brim Weaver was unsurprisingly a 5 star as well. Like, it's just so juicy and dark and creepy and scary, and it's perfect. Done and Dusted was so close to perfect, but I just wanted to connect a little bit more to our main girlie, and I just really couldn't do it. When the Moon Hatched was a 4 star, and if you've not read this yet, my advice is read the glossary because I didn't, and I didn't understand what was going on for like 300 pages. Forbidden Game by Madison Fox is book 2 in her Gamer Guy series, and I rated this one 4 stars because Parker's just like not my favorite, but it was still really good though. Chasing the Wild by Elliot Rose I could only give 3 stars to because I thought this was going to be a dark romance, and I was just a little bit disappointed. It wasn't that dark. Atalanta I could only give 2 stars to because honestly she was like the most boring main character ever. Not in Love by Ellie Hazelwood, of course it's a 5 star. I love everything that Ellie Hazelwood has done. Okay, sue me. The Pucking Wrong Number I could only give 2 stars to because yes, I did kind of want a dark romance, but this was like maybe a little bit too much for me. The Hawthorne Legacy was only 3 stars because honestly it just kind of felt like a slog, whereas book 1 just like was so good by comparison. I reread A Court of Thorns and Roses with my book club. You know this was a 5 star, you know I love everything about this setup to the series and everything that comes after it, okay? Psycho Shifters by Jasmine Mass I rated 4 stars because I thought this was like such a promising start. It's just such a shame the rest of it didn't go the same way. The Au Pair Affair I could only rate 4 stars because I think I just wanted more hockey from it, considering it was also meant to be a sports romance. Like, where was it? Stealing Home by Grace Riley had to be given a 5 star because this was the first book in ages that made me cry. Barbarian Lover by Ruby Dixon again was a 3 stars, and honestly I think I might be done with this series. The Fiancé Dilemma I had to rate 4 stars because there was just like one very specific thing that like really threw me out of the story, but I feel like it's like just a me thing. Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver was a 5 star, and honestly West is the new Cade. A Court of Mr. Fury, 5 stars. I literally cry every single time. Like, what can I say? Academically Yours was a 3 star because I feel like the start of this was so good, and by the time we hit the 50% mark it just kind of like pumped the brakes and I was like, excuse me? The Project Horse was my 78th book, which was my first reading goal of the year, and I rated this one 4 stars, and honestly there is something about horse books that is just good for my soul. Collide was a 5 star, and honestly this was as spicy as it promised to be. A Court of Dragons by Frost K was 5 stars, and honestly why did no one tell me this book was this good? So you know I binged the series, and Queen of Legends was 4 stars, and then Throne of Serpents was also 4 stars. Overall this series was a 5-star series. Go and read it. Favorite was a 4 stars, and honestly with him being a chef I'm so glad that there was so much food in this. House of Roots and Ruin by Erin A. Craig. She's just like perfectly got that kind of like creepy gothicness, but also that fantasy-esque without making me cry myself to sleep. I love it. Quicksilver was a 5-star read, and I don't really understand the hate this book gets because I was obsessed. Blood Oath was another one I rated 4 stars at the start of a series and absolutely loved book 1, and then I'm just like still so sad that the rest of the series was like really disappointing. Daydream by Hannah Grace was a 5-star. It got me out of a reading slump in October, and honestly, I just love everything about their communication. I also started my Empyrean reread, so Fourth Wing was a 5-star yet again. Yes, I cried. Yes, I died. Like, what can I say? I read my first manga ever in Fruits Basket Volume 1, and honestly, this was a 5-star. Like, I'm obsessed. I continued the Empyrean reread with Iron Flame. It was a 5-star. Like, if you know, you know. The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore was a very nice upgrade from the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and I love Hazel and Noah. They're so adorably cute. Mustang Moon by Terry Farley was always going to be a 5-star. I just love everything about this series. It is like going home. A Court of Frost and Starlight can only ever get a 4-star because I feel like it's kind of slow for what it is, but it is the perfect Hallmark Christmas special. Love Light Farms was also a 4-star because even though this was like going so well, the whole social media star thing was just really kind of weird. Trick Shot by Kyla Grass was 4 stars because honestly, she didn't claim to have a plot and I was here for it. Fake Game by Madison Fox was a 5-star and it was the perfect end to this trilogy. Swift and Saddled by Layla Sage was another 5-star and it was exactly the cowboy romance that I needed at the time. King of Sloth by Anna Huang was another 4-star from this series, and honestly, our Black Cat and our Golden Retriever were actually kind of unexpected in little bits of their characters. A Court of Sugar and Spice was only 3 stars because, honestly, it was a little bit boring. Dust Storm by Maggie Gates was 4 stars. This was an amazing start to this series, and honestly, I needed a cowboy romance to get me through. Downpour, I'm gonna upgrade to a 5-star because honestly, the emotional chokehold this had on me is still lingering. Fireline was a 4 stars because this kind of felt like it was wrapping up more than just the series, and it kind of lost its way a little bit through part of it. Fruits Basket Volume 2 was another 4-star, and honestly, I just really love being back with these characters. A Monsoon Rising by Thea Guanzon was also a 4-star, and it just got like a little bit muddy in the middle, and I was like, okay, get on with it. My December Darling by Lauren Asher was my Christmas Day read, and I only rated this 3 stars because I really didn't love our characters. And Daughter of Shadow and Ash was the final read of the year, and this was the one that I gave 3.5 stars because I really loved this, but it has this like YA but with adult characters vibe that I'm not really quite sure how I feel about. Honestly, 106 books has been such a crazy ride this year, and I'm really proud of my personal growth being able to branch out into genres like mystery that I generally wouldn't have gone for previously, and honestly, the books in that category served so hard, and I am so proud of them, and I am so proud of me. 43,000 pages is absolutely insane to think about, and I am so glad that I expanded my reading goal because we hit 78 books, we hit 96 books, we hit 104 books, and we still overachieved, and that number is like absolutely mind-boggling to me. Even though there was quite a few books that I wanted to DNF faster than I could say no thanks, and October we were in a reading slump, honestly, this year served. The highs definitely outweighed the lows, but let me know in the comments down below, what was your top book of the year? Were you in any reading slumps this year? Like, what was your reading year like? I am so ready to start a whole new chapter, literally and figuratively, for 2025. My reading goal this year is going to be 96 books. I am fully expecting to go over that because every single year thus far where I have been tracking a reading goal, I have overachieved, and I don't want to break that streak just yet. If you loved this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button down below and post in the comments either what was your favorite book of the year, if you haven't done that already, or what was your biggest flop of the year, because you guys know I need all that tea. Don't forget to check out my Goodreads, my Fable, my Instagram. All of my links are in the description down below, so do go check those out so that you get all of the tea in real time. Subscribe so you don't miss any of the cozy chaos coming your way. 2025 is going to be absolutely insane. Like, I just have such a good feeling. Until next time, stay chaotic, stay cozy, and happy reading. Love yous. Bye.